going to be a brief meditation on the importance of integral ecology, nature, and the village in the context of marriage, and the question what it means to be a human person. I repeat, it's a meditation, razmatranje o nadahnuto čestetu, na tom akonskim, o prirodi, čovjeku, svijetu, tako dalje. A meditation about human person, the world, and nature. I would like to start with this picture. You see Adam and Eve, and the tree and the nature and the animals. Adam is confused, Eve is, I don't know how to describe her, but she looks interesting. We can just contemplate this picture. I think it has interesting meaning in it. That it shows what it means to be human. That Adam and Eve are like an archetype of us, every each person. What it means, integral ecology or integralne, celovita ekologija. It means oikos plus logos. It means a house, home, kuća. Logos meaning law, zakon, tako dalje. Integral, it means that it includes everything: a man, environment, interpersonal relationship, relationship between man and nature, spirituality and technology, culture and nature. It is specifically, it's practically started, let's say, in the mainstream with the encyclical Laudato Si of Pope Francis in 2015, in June 2015. Where it says, I don't have the English translation, so I translate from Croatian. What's the word? Obnova.
Renewal.
Restoration, yeah, of our relationship with nature is not possible without restoration of the notion of the man himself, the person. How can we achieve that through nature, for example? I think it's something that's it's connected with each other. Nature with human with nature. It's exchangeable, this relationship, uzajamni odnos. And I think it starts with wonder, čuđenje. I think that everybody of us, well, it's a bad picture, so not a picture, but the light is awful. But we like the nature, you know. There's something beautiful in it. Why do we wonder it? In this context, already Martin mentioned already, and Dale said something about it. The world as a sacrament. That's the main thing, that if we perceive the world as a sacrament, that means that the world has something holy in itself, and that insofar the world is holy, it means that the world, the nature, can tell us something about ourselves. And wonder is also connected with the mere fact that we are. The ultimate philosophical question is, ultimate life question is why we are. And when we approach life with this question in mind, why we are, and Chesterton did this, he had this approach to life that he asked himself why we are. It's constant wondering why we are. You cannot be in a relationship with the world in a pragmatical or a master-slave relationship, like you're just using nature. Wandering means also to reach out to other, and living yourself. Reach out to other, that you're wondering, what is this? You want to find out about somebody or something. But do know that this is not nature. I'm not just talking about, ne govorim samo o prirodi kao takvoj, nego i o tjelesnosti, ljudskoj tjelesnosti. Because I'm talking also about human body, our embodiment. It means that nature as body, our body is a part of nature, and you will see afterwards how Laudato Si. And Chesterton points this out. Living yourself, it means that that's the root to every knowledge, genuine knowledge. You have to live yourself and reach out to others so others can open to you, so you can, nature is like a book of wisdom. I think in the Proverbs it is said that nature is like a book of wisdom. You are reading it and it informs you about something of it, about herself and about you. So I'd like to use this quote. It's from a Tremendous Trifle. I will read it in English, but I think you can see it in Croatian. With my stick and knife, my chalks and my brown paper, I went out on the great downs. I crawled across those colossal contours that express the best quality of England, because they are at the same time soft and strong. That's information. That's some information that we receive. And that's, it's not just subjective or relativistic. It is in relation, and it is objective. It informs us about something that nature, in this context, the quality of England has. The smoothness of them has the same meaning as the smoothness of great cart horses or the smoothness of the beech tree. It declares in the teeth of our timid and cruel theories that the mighty are merciful. So you see, nature has tells us that the mighty are merciful. It's a very powerful statement. As my eyes swept the landscape was as kindly as any of its cottages, but for power it was like an earthquake. That's very similar to the St. Augustine's notion that beauty has something, this transcendental of magnitude, greatness, bigness, that beauty is big, that when you stand in front of something that is beautiful, it's also big, like a Gothic cathedral or a big mountain, you're like, wow, you know? It's so big, it's so beautiful. The villages in the immense valley were safe, one could see for centuries. Yet the lifting of the whole land was like the lifting of one enormous wave to wash them all away. So this is very poetical, this is pure poetry. And you can, I'll get back to that later, but you can see he's talking about villages in the immense valley. There's something of integral ecology in it, you know, villages, because they are cities are not so, how to say, they're not part of nature, they're like excluding nature from itself, but gradovi isključuju sebe prirodnost, but villages, they are composed in nature. Sela su dio prirode. On izražavanje prirode, they are integral. Villages are integral in the landscape, in fields, and so on. Thomas Aquinas says that nature is a type of art. And of course the great artist is God himself. So in every good art you have some picture, you have something represented, and you are, when you are looking, you are being informed. That's so St. Thomas Aquinas says that that's actually how knowledge comes, the intention. And you are being informed by the form of the thing that you are watching, for example. So nature is actually informing you of itself and about you. Now I'd like to, in this context, I think that to get know better your surroundings, your environment, the nature, you can much better, how to say, you know, you can recognize the beauty of your own body. Who are you as a person? So I used an example from Song of Songs. I will read in English again, in engleskom. While the king was at his stable, my perfume spread its fragrance. My beloved is to me a sachet of myrrh, resting between my breasts. My beloved is to me a cluster of henna blossoms from the vineyards of Engedi. How beautiful you are, my darling. Oh, how beautiful your eyes are doves. How handsome you are, my beloved. Oh, how charming. And our bed is verdant. The beams of our house are cedars. Our rafters are firs. So this is, I think this is like poetry par excellence. it connects our body, our person, with the nature, and vice versa. The nature, there are many examples, especially in this song, the Song of Songs, the poem of Solomon, where he uses the symbols of nature to describe his beloved's beauty. So it's an ideal relationship, truly, when you recognize that somebody opposite you is not your enemy or an object or a thing, but something that is similar to you, it's equal to you, it has equality and dignity and so on. So it's actually a dialogue. You're dialoguing with, when you're connecting with nature, you're dialoguing with the nature, you're dialoguing with the Creator, and you're also dialoguing with your fellow human being. So, and St. Thomas Aquinas said, "Quod visum placet." It means that is the definition of beauty. What when you see, you like. Lijepo ono što kad se vidi se sviđa, to je ljepota, that's beauty. When you see it, you like it. Because it's something like a similarity, you know? It's not relativistic, you recognize something that is similar outside of you, let's say, it's similar to you. Laudato Si says that our own body gets us into a direct relationship with our environment and with other living creatures. To learn how to accept your own body as male and female, to take care of it, to respect its full meaning, is an essential part of any true human ecology. This is integral ecology per se. Justin says that wandering is the beginning of worship and the soul of all arts. That's actually the beginning to me, the beginning of a human person. Because, how to say, it creates a new attitude of respect, of recognizing your own dignity and the dignity of others, the beauty, your own beauty and the beauty of other person. You recognize that you are a true child of God, and that the other is, all of us are a child of God. That we have in common a Heavenly Father. In that sense, if, says Laudato Si, if we are reaching out to nature and environment without this openness to wandering and what's the word? It's not important. If we do not speak the language of brotherhood and beauty in our relationship with the world, our thinking will be our stance will be the stance of a master, of someone who is spending, of mere who's only exploiting natural goods. That means not just exploiting. That's the main part, because integral ecology, that's the key of a good marriage, of a good state, of a good community, of a good ecology, to accept everything as God's gift. And in this context, you're not dealing with you're connecting everything: the material, the spiritual, the technological, and the material, and so on. It's necessary to accept everything as God's gift, because and the whole us and whole world, because this is essential for to have an authentic ecology. What it means that everything is free, the world is free. It means that God is relevating Himself through His creatures. When we are giving attention to it, a man learns to recognize his own connection with the other creatures. Pope Francis quotes here Paul Coeur, Philosophie de la Volonté. I express myself, expressing the world. In my endurance to find out the wholeness of the world, I am exploring my own holiness. In this context, St. Thomas Aquinas uses a term gubernatio, that means to drive, to steer a ship? Skill, yeah. upravljati brodom. When Thomas Aquinas is talking about how to organize a state, how to build a city, what kind of economy we need, that's actually from his. He's explaining the book of Genesis, and when God gives us the commandment to rule the world, so let's say that, he uses when he's giving a comment, he uses the term hibernatio. It actually means that we are taking nature to create culture. There's no authentic culture without accepting the nature, the natural, the human nature, and the, let's say, the nature per se. So creation, as a notion, includes in itself the notion of goodness, love, and even the freedom, liberty, and how to say, this is difficult to translate. Nezasluženost. We did not deserve it, because God did not from nothing, but created the world, but without any, how to say, reason. You love somebody because a true love is, you have like oh, I love you because you are baking me like cakes every Sunday or something. I don't know. To create world because of nothing, it means to create him freely out of love, without any use, without any conditions, because God wants good of all of things, all created things. That's actually the etymology in some way of the word culture, which means caring for nature, natura, the human nature and the nature per se, in a sense of ennobling with his craftsmanship the whole reality, and primarily his fallen human essence. That's why we are all archetypes of Adam and Eve. Okay. Yeah. Okay. City versus village. This is interesting. Thomas Aquinas gives instructions how to build cities, for example, and he says that we should build cities which helps man his body health and long life, and in the same time keeping and respecting the essence of nature. Essence of nature and he has to have fresh air. He has to have fresh water. He has to have food from his own fields, because everything is helping his sanity, to be normal. His spiritual sanity and his physical sanity. Especially interesting, he has to be in a nice place. So this place cheers up its inhabitants with pleasant environment and so on. That's the main thing, that human life cannot last without pleasures of this kind, without trees, forests, waters, rivers, and so on. What about marriage in this context? It's very, very strange. ChestFest says that marriage is the ancient bridge built between the two towers of sex. The only voluntary state on earth, the only state which creates and which loves its citizens. A duel to death which no man of honor can decline. And this is actually the great one. Marriage makes a small state within the state, which resists all the regimentation of a big state. The bond breaks all the other bonds. That bond breaks all other bonds. That law is found stronger than all later and lesser laws. The family is like a small kingdom that creates and loves its own citizens. The family is a small center that makes other small nations. Like small nations, there are nuisance to the empire. In short, what the empire fears, in the most literal sense, is homo. if we recognize our true nature, our own dignity, you cannot be, how to say, and you are recognizing the dignity of otherness. As a male, you recognize other as a female, and you are somehow giving something better to. You're adding something better to your own nature, your own essence. So when you're in this context, when you create a marriage, when you enter a marriage, you create some bond that is an ultimate danger to the state. By contemplating the other's nature. So I would like to conclude this with a picture. It's a famous German romantic painter, Caspar David Friedrich. It's the Wanderer Above the Sea of Fog. It's actually an inversion. Chesterton, in one of his essays, said that that's the devil's point of view. He's watching from the top. You know? So we have to have an attitude. Everything is an attitude of mind, says Chesterton. At this moment, I'm in a comfortable attitude. He's lying in the grass. He's looking up to the hills from the grass. So it's a different kind of I like to criticize German philosophy. I don't like it. He's watching from the grass, not from the top. And at this moment, I'm in a comfortable attitude. I will sit still and let the marvels and the adventures settle on me like flies. There are plenty of them, I assure you. The world will never starve for want of wonders, but only for want of wonder. This is difficult to translate into Croatian, so I will try. But want of one who wonders. That's the main thing. It's very dangerous to be a wanderer. The aim of life is appreciation. That's the ultimate thing. The appreciation of the other, the nature of the otherness. There's no sense in not appreciating things, and there is no sense in having more of them if you have less appreciation of them. So the ultimate meaning of life is a communion with, like, for example, this one, between man and woman, and with nature, a village, to start a village, like to live in a village, or to start a school like Marco or Dale and else. And of course, in this context of integral ecology, we have to plant our own garden for our victory, for a final victory of human person. So you can be a better person if you plant a garden, I can assure you that. Or if you make your own wine. Thank you.